My name is Luciano Duran Jr. I was born in a little desert town of Yuma, Arizona, October 16, 1942. My father and my mother were married on December 1st, 1941, the day the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. The following day, my dad was drafted, and it had stayed on my mind the rest of my life. He joined the Army Air Corps, and as a kid, I always remember seeing his pictures in uniform. I always thought he looked so sharp, and I wanted to be just like him. As a kid, I worked hard in the fields, picking grapes and other fruits off trees until I graduated from Roosevelt High School. After graduation, I knew it was my chance to do what I always wanted to do. I wanted to join the Air Force and serve my country and wore the uniform just like my dad. This was my chance to travel and see the world and enhance my education. I always wanted to fly like a bird, so I joined the Air Force in 1962. The Air Force asked me what I wanted to do. This was my chance of my life. I wanted my parents to be proud of me, so after boot camp, I went to B-47 Bomber School in Amarillo, Texas. That's the only place I've seen the sun shine, rain, tornadoes, and snow all in one day. Upon completing our B-47 training, they told us to forget everything we had learned because the B-47 was phased out and that we were going to school on B-52s. For 3 years. I thought this was fine, as long as I could fly and travel. So the next 4 years, I flew missions more and more every day as the Cold War was heating up. When I learned that things were getting worse, I was forced to cancel my training. I instead volunteered to go to munitions school, where I worked in preparation and operations of aircraft munitions in preparation to go to Vietnam. By this time, I had recently married, and before leaving overseas, my wife and I had lost our first child. Even though I was offered by the military reprieve to go home and mourn the loss, I felt my country needed me more, and I decided to go to Vietnam to fight for my country. I'll always remember our arrival in Saigon. It was a long trip. When we got there, it was hot, humid, and under fire. I looked at the guy next to me, and I could tell he had the same reaction as I did. Next thing we know, we hear people get off the airplane before we all get killed. Needless to say, none of us slept that night. I had never been exposed to anything like this before. Every night, it was a constant sounds of helicopters, machine guns, C-47s, and the sky being lit up with flares and constant smell of gunpowder. I stayed in Saigon for 1 month, getting fired and bombarded every night. Afterwards, we were told we were being reassigned to another base closer to his DMZ to replace soldiers who had died during a constant attack by the Viet Cong. I was assigned to work in the bomb dump to manufacture napalm. I was put in charge of 5 GIs and 21 civilians, including an interpreter. We built and filled over 600 bombs every day. Napalm was used as a herbicide to clear the jungle for the troops. I remember it burning so hot that you couldn't even stand within 100 feet. One morning, just like every other day, all of my workers were gathered in a circle. I asked them what they were doing. My interpreter was acting really nervous and strange. He showed me a piece of paper, and to my surprise, it was a wanted poster with my face on it. I asked the interpreter what the writing said, and he said the Viet Cong wanted my head in exchange for a reward. I asked him why, and he said that it said I was a bad man and was killing many women and children with a napalm. I just slugged it off and threw away the paper. But my interpreter, fearful for my well-being, showed the poster to my superiors, and I was immediately pulled from my job. I wanted to know why I was being reassigned. The colonel told me that he could not afford to lose me and put me to work under the wing commander. It was a good job. I drove him around running errands, and I was even able to sit in important meetings. It turned out to be a great job. So in fact, that I was really good at it, what I did, and was promoted twice in 1 month. Afterwards, I returned home with 2 Bronze Stars and 2 oak leaf clusters. My dad was really proud of me, along with my family. But it wasn't a very good welcome home from the rest of the country. People were protesting, and I remember the demonstrations. After that, I wanted to return back to my brothers in arms. So I went back to Korea, Thailand, Philippines, and Guam, where I continued to serve in the Air Force for 20 years. I can still remember the smell of gunpowder and imagine the night flares when I see airplanes at night. After leaving the Air Force, I was diagnosed with delayed stress syndrome, where I was sometimes awake with cold sweats and constantly feeling anxiety when I hear loud horn from a train or a truck. I've been lucky enough to control it myself, but all those out there who are suffering from the same or similar conditions, I would recommend them to seek help. Don't be embarrassed to let others help you. I have friends who suffer through the same condition who can't function properly anymore. They become dependent on drugs, lose their jobs, and eventually their families. However, through the help of professionals, they are slowly taking control of their lives again. Even though I know how tough things are out here, I would gladly do it all over again for the US of A.